All right, let's dive right in. We're going to break down something that can seriously open doors in your career, leveling up from everyday English to real business English. Now, we've put this together to perfectly complement the fantastic lessons from language instructor Francisco Lopez. So if you're one of his students, think of this as a way to really lock in those concepts. And if you're new to this, get ready for some game-changing tips. So let me ask you this. You might be a pro at chatting with your friends, but is your English ready for the boardroom? You know, the language that lands you the deal or impresses that new client isn't always the same one we use every day. As Francisco Lopez teaches, making that switch from casual to professional is an absolutely critical step for your career.
So how do you actually make that upgrade? Well, according to Lopez's lessons, the first step is actually way simpler than you might think. He calls it a professional word swap. Let's look at 5 really powerful substitutions you can start making like today that will instantly change the way you sound.
Okay, check out this first one. I got your email. We say it all the time, right? It's totally normal. But listen to the difference. I received your email. Hear that? It's a tiny change, but it just sounds more formal, more precise. That's a huge professional impact from just one word. Here's another classic. I need help is fine, but in a professional setting, it can sometimes sound a little informal, maybe even a bit desperate depending on the situation. The upgrade? I require some assistance. The word require signals a clear business necessity, and assistance is just a more polished word for help. It gets the same message across, but with so much more professional weight. This next swap is all about intention. I mean, you can talk about the weather or what you did over the weekend, but when you discuss something, it implies a focused, goal-oriented conversation. In a business setting, you're not there to just chat, you're there to discuss. It shows you mean business. Get in touch is friendly, for sure, but it's also a little vague. How are you going to get in touch? A call? An email? The professional choice, I will contact you, is just cleaner, more direct. It gets rid of any guesswork, which is always the goal in business. And for our last word swap in this section, make sure versus ensure. Make sure feels kind of like a friendly reminder, right? But ensure, that word has power. It implies that you're taking direct action to guarantee a result. So when you really need to convey certainty, ensure is always the stronger choice. So, we've swapped out some individual words. That's a great start, but now let's really level up. As Francisco Lopez always teaches, mastering common expressions is what truly makes you sound fluent and natural. These are the kinds of phrases you're going to hear over and over in meetings and emails. Let's start with a big one from the world of finance. If you hear a company is in the red, it means it's losing money. This actually comes from the old days of accounting when losses were literally written in red ink. And the opposite, in the black, means it's profitable. You got to know this one to understand a company's financial health. Okay, now for a much more fun one. If a product is selling like hotcakes, it means sales are absolutely booming. Customers can't get enough of it. You'll hear this all the time in marketing updates. It's just a classic way to say you've got a smash hit on your hands. All right, this one's a little less cheerful, but it's very real. As Lopez explains in his lessons, every job has its dirty work. You know, those unpleasant but totally necessary tasks. We're talking about things like handling a major client complaint or having to deliver some bad news. It's the tough stuff that just has to be done. Now, this next phrase is all about context. Workout can, of course, mean going to the gym, but in a business meeting, it almost always means finding a solution to a problem. So when your boss says, we need to work this out, they're not asking for fitness tips. They're telling you to find a plan. Okay, so we've got the words, we've got the expressions. But what does this actually look like in the real world? This is where it all comes together. Let's take a look at a practical example straight from one of Lopez's lessons and watch a basic email totally transform into a professional one. Okay, here it is, the before email. You can completely understand it, but it just feels, well, casual. You can spot all those basic phrases we just covered. Getting in touch, got the letter, need some advice, and let's talk about this. It works, sure, but it doesn't exactly project a polished, professional image. And now, the after. Wow, right? What a difference. Getting in touch becomes the much more direct contacting. Got becomes received. Need gets that upgrade to require. And let's talk about this becomes the super proactive, I propose we discuss this. You see? It's not just about swapping a few words. It's about changing your entire professional tone. The big idea here is that this level of professional communication is within your reach. It's not some secret code. You've seen the building blocks, and you've seen the final result. So really, the only question left is, what's your next move? How are you going to start applying these ideas from Lopez's lessons?
Let's just do a super quick recap. First, make those simple but really powerful word swaps. They are such easy wins. Second, start listening for and trying to use those common business expressions. It'll make you sound so much more fluent. And finally, just remember that all of these small changes add up to make a huge, huge impact on your professional image.
And that really brings us to the final thought. Knowing this stuff is one thing, but actually doing it is what makes all the difference. So I'll leave you with a little challenge inspired by Lopez's teachings. The next time you write an important email, just pause for a second before you hit send. Reread it and ask yourself, how can I upgrade this? Thanks for tuning in.